Hi guys, this is Wenzes from Below the Radar Above the System, and now I want to talk to you about the concept of going into the world of others versus inviting others into our own world. And we as INFJs naturally tend to go into the world of others. One of those reasons is that our hidden agenda is TI, which is to understand. We want to understand others. And I'll get a little bit more into the hidden agenda for INFJs in the other video of today, because this was brought up again in the idea pool. I know we've talked about it a while ago, maybe a year ago, but now it's come back up, and I think mainly we've gained so much knowledge within the last year that now we can go a little bit more in depth in that and also talk about energy levels. I'll talk a little bit more about podcast I listened to from Personality Hacker on that topic that I really liked, and I wanted to give you my opinions on that. But so let's get back to the topic of this video. And I want to get a little bit into those two parts and why we do the one thing, which is, going into the world of others if we're not conscious, if we're not really working on our personal growth, and what kind of effects that has on us, and why we should consciously work on inviting others more into our world. This topic actually has been also floating around the idea pool, but I watched something lately that was on relationships, and when one person wants to gain like the other's approval and so on, and then within this video they were talking about testosterone and serotonin levels. And please excuse when I talk about it now that maybe this is not completely scientific, because I'm not a neuroscientist, but I think the conclusion that comes out of it will really make us understand why we do what we do, and once we understand that, why it helps to really change it. So I cannot really say what is the main reason why we go into the other worlds, because on the one hand, yes, as I said, we're so interested in understanding others, but at the same time, it is difficult for us to have our own identity, as in this is who I am and I want other people to be part of that. So those two aspects happen simultaneously, so you don't know which one comes first. But the thing is this: once you really go and want to be in the world of others, and you really want to understand somebody, two things happen in your brain based on what I watched in this video, and through personal experience I can actually say this is happening. Number one, your testosterone level goes down and your serotonin level goes down. And testosterone we have in men is much higher than in women generally. That's why women tend to be a little more nurturing and so on, just an overall thing. But no matter what kind of gender you are, what kind of orientation you are, there's a typical testosterone level which can vary within you. Without, let's say, really drugs, but just by the way you behave and by, your natural things that are going on outside. And if you have a high testosterone level, you tend to be aggressive. I mean, I'm talking about really high. You tend to be aggressive, you tend to be selfish, you tend to want to, think more about yourself and so on. And if it's too high, it can really bring people to criminal behavior and so on. But this is not, this is just the highest thing. If you have a higher testosterone level than you have in, let's say in an unhealthy way, it does help you to be more self-assertive, to place yourself as high as others. And once you kind of chase somebody, and with chasing I don't necessarily mean I'm gonna show you chasing as in man chases women, or man chases women, or women chases men. Not in that, just in general, when you try to understand others and you go into their world, you pretty much, your testosterone level sinks. And it happens because your brain is concentrated on understanding that person, how that person sees the world, and you kind of always also want to go, and be a part of their world. And therefore, you become less self-assertive. You become less making sure that you're fighting for your own rights. And to a certain degree, that can be very healthy, because sometimes if you once you start really thinking about others, it really gives you a sense of being useful and being of worth to society and so on. This is why so many people, once they get children and they can kind of take care of their children, they get a sense of, finally I have a purpose. But if it's too low, and this has happened with me so many times, it's not healthy. You're enabling the other person to go on with their unhealthy behavior, because most of the time this happened with me with other people who did have like a higher testosterone level, and by me trying to understand them and not forcing them or forcing them to understand me. And by forcing, I mean just setting boundaries, as in, this is who I am. If you want to be in my life as a friend or whatever, then you do have to understand me. You do have to think about what is important to me also. Otherwise, I don't see this as an equal relationship, and I'll just, keep it moving. You can, join me on my path, or you can go. And this is what I mean with force. You're not just standing there and saying, you have to understand me. You're just saying, if you want to be part of my life, then you have to understand me. And you'll be surprised how often, when you really set those rules and those boundaries, that people actually do start to understand. And that makes them lessen their testosterone level, which is, in a lot of ways, a very good thing. Because if you have a high testosterone level and you're completely aggressive and you have all this kind of behavior, it's not really good for you either. You do want to normalize that, and that's why for a lot of people, once they can have somebody who can they can concentrate on, who do tend to have a higher testosterone level due to other things happening in their life, due to just the way they're forced to be, because they think this is the only way I can survive. And so they kind of push all that aggressive behavior to the maximum, and this can rise your testosterone level. So in a lot of ways, we can learn from those people, as in, this is what we have to do if we naturally tend to think too much about how is the world for others and so on, because we do want to have a healthy level of testosterone in order to have a balance, in order to think about ourselves, and in order to be valuable to others. Because you can have all that knowledge in the world, if you're not applying that, if you're not bringing value to the people around you and to the world, you'll always lack some kind of purpose in your life. The other thing is serotonin. If you have a really high serotonin level, or let's keep it, let's start a little bit where if you have a healthy level for serotonin in your body, you're happy. Serotonin really gets you to be more upbeat, more alive, to have just generally a bigger just joy for life. But if your serotonin level is too high, then you tend to be anxious. And I'm not that kind of person. I do not have to worry about having a too high serotonin level, because I'm never really hyper like this. My mom has that, and actually everybody I've been attracted to in my entire life, including my friends and my best girlfriends and so on. So not just romantic, but naturally, they all tend to have that. Maybe because my mom is like this and this feels like home. I don't know. I personally think because I tend to have a low level of serotonin, which I'll get into in a minute. And you naturally want somebody who takes care of that, high parts. Once you think about them or you get into their world, you kind of get part of that serotonin for yourself without you actively having to do something for it. So my mom tends to be anxious. You tend to be really nervous. You you're erratic. And I can see that. We went mini golfing like last week, and she was in a bad mood. She had like something happened again, and she got all upset over it. And yeah, she was just, she couldn't stand still pretty much. So, and if you have a low serotonin level, you don't really care about anything, or you get sad a lot. There are a lot of studies that show that a low serotonin level is not the cause for depression. So I want to get that out of the way. But generally, if your serotonin level is very low, you just don't care. You don't get happy about anything, and you don't really get sad about anything. And when I say anything, I just mean, like, of course there are ranges, but it's very numb and like this, And this is also something that changes if you invite others into your world, or if you go into others' worlds. So once you do that, let's say you have your natural tendencies, which are in a lot of ways self-destructive, that you too much try to understand the other person and try to like do that the way they want it, then your testosterone level falls and your serotonin level falls. That means you really stop really caring about anything. So if somebody treats you bad, you don't care until it's like too late. Your testosterone level falls because you just, there's no self-will about like what you want in life, what you want to achieve, who you want to be. And this can be a very, very unhealthy thing, especially if you have somebody on the other side who's not stable either. Because we are not that stable. We're not sensors, we're intuitives. And intuitives generally tend to pick up on things that are going on and adapt to it. And this can be very, beneficial also, because you kind of can see trends, you can see where you're going. If you have like a sensor, in a lot of ways, they're very stable, and you don't have to be worried about like being imbalanced yourself. They will kind of balance you out if they're stable. But in a lot of ways, if the other person is either another intuitive who is not unhealthy, or you have really unbalanced sensors who also fluctuate a lot, then you kind of tend to always want to understand the other person more. You want to balance them out, because if you see somebody who's like this and this is not healthy for them, then you kind of try to understand them so much and be a rock for them. And once you do that, you understand the other person, and then your serotonin level drops, your testosterone level drops. And this is not good for people like us. Like, I used to be so afraid of really going against this, because I thought once I do that, then I'm just gonna be horrible. I'm gonna be so assertive and so personally willed and so on. And it took me to kind of really work on inviting others into my world to understand that I'm still the person that I am, and I'm still not over the top, and actually I'm much more able to really have beneficial relationships and be good to others, because I'm really fulfilling my own needs instead of trying to fulfill somebody else's needs in hope that they will fulfill mine. So as I said, this is where we naturally tend to go. And the thing we have to actively work on, and it is really an exercise. You can train your brain like a muscle. This is not something that is not possible. It's just difficult in the beginning, and I'll get to it in the second video when it gets to energy management. But once you invite people into your world, this is a concept you need to first off intellectually get into your head, because in the beginning it does not feel that way. If you want to stop smoking, if you want to get rid of any kind of addictions, if you want to, if you want whatever you want to do, you really have to want to change, because at that moment when your serotonin level is really low, when your testosterone level is really low, and you just care about how the other person feels, you don't care about all that pain that it's causing you, and you don't know what you're going to do with your life and what kind of value you bring to anybody, then it doesn't feel like the truth if you start like, oh, I'm going to invite others into my world. I'm going to do something for myself. It has to be an intellectual choice and something you repeatedly work on. So, but once you do that, you create this concept in your head of, I'm going to make a world the way I imagined it. I'm just going to live it. If that means I'm going to live it on my own, without friends, without family, without anybody, then that will be it. And this is the first step, and this is what you have to get used to. You have to be okay on your own and say, this is my world. I know I'll piss people off with this. I know people will not like me because of this. This is naturally something you think about when you do have those low levels. Because, I've done so many things that I thought, oh, if I do this, people are not going to like me. And the truth is, people didn't really care. People didn't even really notice. And everything changed about my life, So what happens is you kind of incorporate everybody around you into your world. You imagine everything the way you want it to be. And you allow everybody to get into that world who accepts your worldviews. They don't have to really understand everything you're about, but they have to understand that if they want any kind of connection with you, which we all want, any kind of connection, that you acknowledge their existence, that you acknowledge their energy, that you acknowledge whatever it is, then there are certain things they have to understand about you. And in order for them to understand that about you, you have to make it a point. You have to show it. You have to show that you want excitement. You have to show that you want peace around you. You have to show that you want all those things, and you show that by giving those things to you first. So if I want to have flowers, just in general, I want people to give me flowers, I'm going to start buying myself flowers, because I have to appreciate that somebody is giving something to me and is doing something nice for me, and that person has to be you. And I had to also learn, don't allow negative energy, negative vibes around me, because this is putting me down. And everybody who does that, I'm just gonna ignore. I'm just not gonna have that. And if that means that I will have this excitement gone from my life for a minute, which is a dysfunction, which we can be very easily attracted to and hooked to, then this is something I have to do. And once you have that basis, once you have all those things, the right people will come to your life. You've heard that everywhere, but somehow I personally didn't really much believe in it. Well, it happens just because those people who can understand you, who want to understand you, will make the effort to change and to understand what you're going through and what you're talking about and what you're experiencing. And the other ones, there was not a chance with them anyways to have a connection, because if you're not living your own life, then you don't have a connection with those people anyways. You don't, because they don't know you. They don't know you at all. And once you do that, then you'll see how all those people that actually tend to be anxious, tend to be aggressive, tend to be unhappy because they're on that spectrum that is too far on the right, let's say, and we tend to be too much on the left, and thinking the more you go to the left, the other person is gonna, come towards you. That's not gonna happen. The enabling part happens when because you tend to be left, you go more left, and the other person also goes more right. This is what happens when you try to understand the other person. This is what comes naturally to you as an unhealthy tendency. But once you make it a point and you consciously make that effort, no, I'm going to change. I'm going to say today, what is it I want? If you don't care about what kind of movie you want to watch, ask yourself, what if I did care? What if I did care? What would I choose? And every single time somebody asks you this, you consciously tell yourself, I'm going to say something. I'm going to make a preference here. Because once you work that, then you invite other people into your world. You do allow them to see the real you, which you're in very often cases so ashamed of. I definitely was ashamed of what I liked, because there were things that if some people knew them, others will not like me. The same thing would be switched around for other topics in my life. So, and you'll see how those people with the too high testosterone level, with the too high serotonin levels, they also get balanced, because it's not you balancing them out by making a connection, but by them trying to understand you and going towards more your way, because they want to see, how is that person really doing this? This is something new to me. And people want connection. This is just general. This is not an INFJ thing. This is just a human thing. So if you want people to understand you in order to have a connection to you, they will make those efforts, or they will completely vanish out of your life, and then they won't bother you anyways. So those are, with serotonin and testosterone, just like 2 examples. I'm pretty sure there are, millions of chemicals going on in our brain, but this is something I personally experienced more than once, and I've seen it not just in myself, but also in those other people that tend to go on the other spectrum. It's good for them to concentrate on something else, to kind of like, if you're very anxious, it's very good to concentrate on one thing. And you don't have to be afraid that if you're too much out there that people are not going to like you, or so on. Leave people the choice to if they want to be in your life or not. Leave people the choice if they're if they gonna want to be safe by you or not. Whatever it is, give people the decency that they have the right to decide for their own life, period. But at the same time, you have to be responsible for your life and your being, and therefore you do also have to make sure that people see you one way or another. It does not matter how. It does not matter if you express yourself just by the way you express your face, the way you communicate with others, the way you dress, the way you naturally, if you do your things the way you are, something will come up, some kind of energy that others will pick up who want to pick it up. And this is so individualistic that you can't pinpoint it. You can't say, oh, start dressing this way and then people will see it. Start writing poems and put it out to people and they'll see it. Start doing this. There's no such thing, because each one of us is so different. Just things that you can do to make yourself happy, and show that. Show how you are making yourself happy, and make it consciously, because in the moment it won't feel like this. And you'll see how those levels will get balanced. You do need a healthy level of serotonin and testosterone to be healthy, to have a willful life, to be happy, and make it a point to create your own sanity and then pull others into your sanity, instead of trying to go into others' insanity and thinking that you can pull them out. It does not happen, because somebody who's insane and who goes like this will also, insane, who's not really in a good place, will drain you down with them. This is just natural. You're a human being. Understand that. Okay, so this is it on going into the world of others versus inviting others into ourselves. Make it a conscious point to do that, because it won't naturally be a tendency. But once you start doing that repeatedly, it will become an automatic thing and something you don't even have to think about, and your life just gets better right away. Okay, thank you for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.